Hey, it's Lee for On Your Marks Wrestling, and I'm here with a Smackdown review for May 29th, 2018. We start the show with Samoa Joe coming down to the ring. He climbs the ladder, grabs the Money in the Bank briefcase, and then he starts cutting a promo. He basically says, makes some biblical references. He then mentions Daniel Bryan's family. It's a great promo. Anything Joe does is great. Like, this didn't even make sense, but it was still super compelling because you believe him. He's believable. Bryan comes out and threatens to break Joe's leg if he ever talks about his family again. Then Cass comes out and says that he spoke to Paige, and she's canceled the Bryan and Joe match, and that he'll face Joe instead for the spot in Money in the Bank. Then Cass says that he's been cleared. I should have explained that. And he swings his crutch at Daniel Bryan, but he hits Samoa Joe instead. Eventually, he does manage to hit Bryan with the Money in the Bank briefcase. And, it's kind of the end of the segment. Then we have a backstage kind of shot of Nakamura throwing away these numbered cards. So he's throwing away 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Works his way up to 10. At 10, he rips it apart, and then you learn that he's facing Ty Dillinger that day. So that makes sense. Plays into the last man standing thing, and also plays into the Ty Dillinger thing. That works. Clever. Paige is backstage with Absolution, who complained that Asuka is getting a shot when she doesn't deserve it because she's lost her last 2 matches. Paige says that Mandy Rose is going to understand why Asuka deserves the shot by putting her in a match, and Mandy actually likes that. Then Renee catches up with Paige, asks her about the whole Bryan, Samoa Joe, Cass thing. Paige says that she didn't talk to Cass, he was making things up. But then she's like, I like what happened, so I'm going to make a 3-way match. So instead of going, I was pretty disappointed. I was like, Joe versus Daniel Bryan, that could be amazing. Oh, you're adding big Cass to it. Oh, it's not going to be that good anymore. And later on, I'm going to tell you right now, it kind of happened. Still not terrible, but could have been better. So then we have Ty Dillinger versus Nakamura. Nakamura dominates and continually starts doing 10 chants. Or not 10, but 10 counts. He gets to a point where he gets a 9 on Dillinger. So Dillinger is down for 9, but he gets up at the last second, and then Dillinger flashes the 10 at Nakamura. And then he also does the come on thing. I like that stuff. It worked. But eventually there's a knee to the back of the head from the second rope by Nakamura and a Kinshasa, and he gets the pin. After the match, though, he hits another Kinshasa to the back of Dillinger's head, and he grabs a mic and he starts counting up to 10. He's a good heel. You can't fault him for that. Dasha asks AJ Styles about the last man standing thing. AJ talks about, being the last man in the workout in the gym, being the last man at the training centers, things like that. He basically says he's always the underdog, and that's why he's champion right now. He fights hard. Then we have Rusev and English, who come out to introduce Lana. First of all, we kind of saw Rusev going into a commercial break. They were a good little kind of package. I actually thought this was one of the strongest things of this whole episode was the tiny little kind of 10-second clip of backstage heading into commercials. I thought they did a really good job of those. So you see Rusev kind of teaching Lana dance moves because Lana is in a dance-off versus Naomi. So it's Rusev and English come out and they introduce Lana. So English does this kind of rap intro thing, and then Rusev sings Lana is the best, Lana number 1. Naomi comes out, and then she calls out the Usos to join her. They both do their dance moves, Lana going first, Naomi second. Gotta say, neither one of them is a particularly good dancer, but that's kind of historically been the whole deal with WWE. Naomi's a little bit better, but it's not like significant. You'd expect a little bit more from a former cheerleader / dancer. Afterwards, Lana kind of shows a little bit of respect, and she's like, "Yeah, let's dance together." So they do a little dance together where you do the hooking of the feet thing and hopping around. It's fine, and then they kind of put their backs to each other, and then Lana delivers a neck breaker, and it causes a little bit of a brawl at the end of this. it's a jokey, kind of dumb segment. You knew how it was going to end. It was fine. The Usos and Naomi kind of stood tall at the end of it. But there's a match coming out of it, and they announce it later on. We have, speaking of those little clips heading into commercials, the New Day have pancakes delivered by, excuse me. Whoa. They have pancakes delivered by a guy with a monocle, and then we see a backstage thing with the bar tossing pancakes at The Miz, who's wearing a blindfold, and he's kind of knocking him off as if it's kind of like from a Karate Kid training kind of deal. I thought it was pretty good. The New Day versus the Bar and The Miz is the next match. Graves says he's assaulted by Big E's jacket, so Big E intentionally throws his jacket at Graves. I thought Graves was pretty good this episode. Like a little more... He did a little bit more than he usually does. I used to think Graves was amazing on NXT, but then they kind of... I don't want to say muted him. They just made him kind of suck a little bit. They kind of made him too much of the voice of Vince McMahon rather than his own voice. So we see Kofi, he seems to take a rough spill to the outside. It was like him throwing himself to the outside, more or less. It was Miz, but it was him. But it looked kind of rougher than I thought it would. Kofi is down for a long time. E is run into the barrier. Big E is run into the barrier by Miz and I think it's Cesaro. There's an SOS by Kofi at one point. Then there's a tope by... I thought this was cool. Woods has one man down in the corner, and he does a tope as Sheamus that's down. And he runs into the corner, jumps off of Sheamus's back over the ropes, and does kind of like a spinning... Not quite a tope con hilo, but it's like sideways. It looks almost like a spinning back kick onto Cesaro. It looked really cool. There are lots of big team moves here, lots of near falls. Hard to kind of describe them all. This match was quite good. There's a dive off the post by Kofi onto the two members of the Bar. Eventually, though, Big E hits the big ending on Miz, and he gets the win. Really high-paced, like fast-paced, lots of action, good match. Renee is with the Good Brothers. I thought... I like the Good Brothers a lot. Anderson... Gallows refers to Anderson's abs. He shows them off. He says that his hot Asian wife loves them. The hot Asian wife thing always makes me laugh. I don't know why. They're setting up calling the Bludgeon Brothers nerds, but then there's a TV just conveniently 5 feet away that makes a sound, and the Bludgeon Brothers come on, and they just kind of say some creepy things and that they're going to destroy them. Then we see another kind of little clip heading into the commercial of Asuka applying her black line across the face and putting her mask on. It just kind of looked cool, just seeing her go like this and the line shows up. I don't know why I liked it so much. Carmella comes out to do commentary before the women's match. Mandy Rose and Asuka are facing off. Graves is a complete mess on commentary because of his love of Rose. He's so infatuated with Rose that he kind of insults Carmella, and Carmella calls him out for it, and he's just completely messed up. And I love hearing, like, Graves is always that cool guy, but in this case he's playing the kind of completely lost, completely out of it, can't help himself guy just because he's so infatuated with Rose. I thought it was funny. Before Asuka even makes it to the ring, though, DeVille comes out and attacks Asuka from behind, so gives Mandy Rose a little bit of an advantage early. So the match starts. Rose hits a really nice series of moves. Like, she is getting much better. I actually made a note of the moves because I thought they were all looking pretty good. She did a reverse exploder, which looked really nice. Then she hit a dropkick. Her dropkick is really a proper dropkick. She's been hitting it regularly. It looks cool. And then her best move is the bicycle knee, and she hits that perfectly. Carmella's really annoying on commentary, but that's kind of her move. She should be. So I thought that was good. Asuka then, after taking all those moves and managing to kick out of the bicycle knee, Asuka does manage to hit a few of her signature moves. She attempts an Asuka lock, but Rose managed to try to convert it into a pin. but her second try works. She does manage to get the Asuka lock on. Carmella goes into the ring and just kind of flashes her title at Asuka while just kind of staring her down, and then leaves. Then we have Charlotte and Becky backstage, who are arguing about who will win the Money in the Bank. Paige comes by and she says, "I like this," so you know there's going to be a match between the two of them soon. Then we have Cien Almas, who's coming out of a dressing room, and I believe it's Sin Cara's there, and Sin Cara kind of hugs him in a really awkward way and says, like, "We go way back." And Zelina Vega is like, "No, you don't know each other. Who you thought you knew isn't this guy. Go away." And then Cien just kind of confirms that. I thought this was good. I actually really like that. And so then we go to the final match. So it's Daniel Bryan, Big Cass and Samoa Joe. Cass is attacked early by the other two. I guess fresh wounds. There's a bit of a botch in the corner with Daniel Bryan. He usually does the run-up backflip thing. He kind of gets caught. He still manages to get over Joe, but it just looked a little rough. At one point, Bryan dives from the top rope onto Cass, who's being held by Samoa Joe, and Tom Phillips references the shrimp and blimp, which are things that Cass had said earlier. Cass is a bad guy, and he's being a dick. An announcer shouldn't say that the shrimp and blimp are combining to attack Cass. You're calling one guy tiny and one guy fat, and you're an announcer, and these are big members of your roster. It was so dumb. I wrote, Tom Phillips, shut up. Pretty solid notes right there. Cass throws Bryan over the announce table at one point. He starts to dominate after... excuse me. What did I write here? Clotheslining Bryan. I was like, that looks like pestering? I have horrible handwriting, apparently. Clotheslining Bryan, who was hitting drop kicks on Joe. So Bryan's doing the corner drop kicks. Cass sneaks in and just hits him with a clothesline. Bryan struggles to put the yes lock on Cass, but eventually does get it on there, but Joe yanks Bryan out. Bryan lands his old finisher, the running kick, onto Cass, but Joe puts him in the coquina clutch before he manages to pin Cass, and he gets the win that way. Bryan doesn't tap out. He's knocked out. Well, he's unconscious, but he never tapped out. After the match, Cass big boots Daniel Bryan, so I guess that's going to continue going. This episode was actually quite good, and were it not for the change to the final match, I think this might have been a really, really good episode, because I thought the promo work was great. I thought the throws into commercials were great. The in-ring, to me, the in-ring, I thought there were two really good matches. I thought other matches were at least solid. Mandy Rose versus Asuka was better than it should have been. Nakamura versus Ty Dillinger was pretty decent. I thought the tag team match was the match of the night, though. So pretty good episode. I really, had they not ruined that final, if Big Cass wasn't part of that feud at the end and you just had Joe versus Bryan, I think this would have been a really great episode. I'm still going to give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was pretty solid. Hard to really complain about it, especially after I was so disappointed with Raw yesterday. It just frustrated me so much. So, yeah, that's my review. I've been meaning to try to go shorter. I'm giving less details, yet I'm giving more opinions, and I keep going longer than I want to. So, apparently I can't shut up. So I'm going to work on that moving forward. Thanks for watching.